Thank you so much. I was called in for a rehearsal here yesterday, but I wasn't in the town, so it wasn't possible for me to make it. And ever since I entered this hall room, I was talking to myself about what should be my opening statement. And I must tell you, I'm at a loss. I don't have any opening statement to offer. The topic that I will be talking to you all about is promoting environmental justice. I'm feeling very confident after listening to the previous speakers, because at times I go very down. I feel very frustrated because the things that I want to do, I take them up to a given level, but beyond that level, pushing it becomes very difficult because the governance in which I operate is not always very friendly. But if someone can dream of bringing in discipline to the chaotic traffic condition of Dhaka, why can't I dream of promoting the environmental justice for the people of this country? I think there is every hope in what I do. What does environmental justice mean? Is there any globally accepted definition? Let me start by saying that there is no globally environmental definition of the notion called environmental justice. What means environmental justice to the rich may not mean the same to the poor. What means environmental justice to the US may not have the same meaning to the people of Bangladesh. But this is a definition that I have borrowed from the US EPA. Basically, it says that environmental justice means the fair treatment and meaningful implementation of all people in the development, implementation, and enforcement of environmental law. And they have also defined fair treatment. They have also defined meaningful involvement. Meaningful involvement means that the community that will be affected by a given decision has to be consulted in a way that if they oppose a decision, the government takes notes of their concerns and accordingly changes the decision. And fair treatment means that no group of the population should bear any disproportionate burden of any environmental decision. It's not very easy to define environmental justice because it depends and varies from context to context. But environmental justice actually makes connections between environmental and social issues. I remember when I first started my career and I would go to the court with an issue which is totally non-conventional, the conventional lawyers would tell me, now she has come to waste the time of the court. Because the laws that I talk about, nobody has talked about implementation of those laws for 200 years. And nobody thought that these laws have any potential of solving people's problems that have been persistent in the society for God knows how many years. But the environmental laws, if you want to transform it into the justice notion, it actually links the society and the legal system. Environmental justice also provides opportunity for building broad-based coalition, and it makes profound changes to enhance the quality of the people whose life a particular river system or the air of Dhaka is affecting. But it's not an easy task because those who are well served by the system about which the first speaker of this session was talking about, they would definitely be out there to resist the changes that you want to bring. So these are very hard words. Now I'll be talking and sharing with you experiences that are actually known to all of you, but you probably don't think that there is a solution that exists to these problems. What does environmental justice mean to the people of Bangladesh? See, environmental justice to the people of Bangladesh means protection against natural disaster. It means protection against the degradation of the natural resource base, because 60% of the people of Bangladesh have their only animal protein intake from the rivers. The fish that they catch from the river is the only protein intake for them. They can't buy poultry, they can't buy fish. Whatever comes from the free-flowing river is the only animal protein intake for them. It also means protection against rapid and unplanned urbanization, pollution, shrinking of agricultural land, shrinking of potable water supply, depletion of forest resources, erasing of hillocks, disappearance of wetland and fisheries, and loss of biodiversity. So against all these anarchies, the protection that people want to get is what is known as environmental justice to them. I think I should also add one line, which is protection of cultural and natural heritage is also something that forms part of environmental justice. And environmental justice means and demands food security, water security, energy security, health security, and security for livelihood. It also demands the right to participate and have access to accurate information, judicial and administrative relief. Now coming down to how we have been trying to promote environmental justice in Bangladesh. When I first started my career, and even today when you come to Dhaka or you live in Dhaka, you get the feeling that Bangladesh perhaps is a country where there is no law. That is not the case. Bangladesh is a country where you can name any problem, I can give you one law. But the problem is, the laws are just not being implemented. Bangladesh is a country where there is no dearth of agencies or institutions. They are there. But they always plead lack of manpower, lack of resources. But when they have to really twist around things, then there is no lack of manpower. So Bangladesh is a country where I would say there are so many laws in hand with which you can very safely start your journey towards establishing or promoting environmental justice. We have around 200 laws in the country that deal with environment. Added to this are some procedural laws like the Right to Information Act. So if you want some information from the government, environmental information, you can apply under the Right to Information Act. You can have the information photocopied for you. You can also inspect the file. But whether these laws are working or not, that my subsequent slides will be showing. These laws, however, do not suggest that these are very resource-oriented laws or very environment-oriented laws. These are sectoral laws. Laws relating forest administration, water administration, but the conceptual and functional interpretation of the existing laws can provide a readily available statutory system to promote an equitable environmental order. If you start working on the basis of whatever you have in the law, I believe it will take you forward. There are many policies. The key institutions dealing with environmental justice remain the Ministry of Environment, the Department of Environment, and the Department of Forest. Now, this is what the Constitution says, that the state will protect and improve the environment, biodiversity, natural resources, wetland, forest, wildlife, not only for this generation, but also for the future generation. This Environment Conservation Act is there, which says that you have relief against some of the environment anarchies. If you approach to the Director General Department of Environment with a given environmental problem, he can arrange for public hearing to solve your problem. Not a single public hearing has thus far taken place, although the law was enacted in 1995. It's not that people are not going to him with complaints, but he just doesn't bother to arrange a public hearing. There is also your right to access information from the Department of Environment. Think about this Rampal coal-based power plant that the government is proposing to have just by the side of the Sundarbans. We are asking for the final environmental impact report of that plant, and on the basis of which the government has said yes to the project. That particular environmental impact assessment report has not yet reached us. There was never any public consultation. These are the sectoral laws. I will not be wasting time on this. Bangladesh has an environmental court system. Can you believe this? It's not only the high court or the conventional court system that we have in place. Bangladesh is perhaps one of the few countries in this world that has offered its citizens a forum called the Environment Court, where you can go with your environmental grievances and get those redressed. But that's just not happening. How many of you knew about the existence of Environment Court in this country? Can you raise your hands? See? Just very few, very few. This is where the environmental courts are placed. It's actually at the lower judiciary. The environmental court had dealt with 1,123 cases, out of which 424 cases have been disposed of. The High Court has very wide power to deal with environmental offenses because environmental right has been interpreted as being inclusive within the right to life of all the citizens of Bangladesh. If you don't have a sound environment, there is no point having right to life. If you have to inhale the polluted air, what is the point of just living there, inhaling the polluted air all your life? And the High Court actually has played a very significant role in very progressively interpreting some of the sectoral laws, these 210 laws, and also relaxing some of the procedural requirements of filing cases. Now, this is despite all the laws, despite having the key institutions needed for protection of environment, despite having the constitutional commitment to protect environment, this is how our environment looks like. If you see, this is the waste being dumped by the Dhaka City Corporation in the Buriganga River. And on this side, you can see how the tanneries and textiles have taken rivers as a free and common dumping zone and are actually dumping all their untreated waste into the river. This is how wetlands are being filled up. By the way, the place where I am standing today, 20 years down the line, this particular land area was demarcated in the master plan of Dhaka as main flood flow zone. A very powerful, influential developer decided to get the map changed. So the plan was changed, and this area, which was a main flood flow zone, has changed from main flood flow to housing and ancillary. And this is another mega housing. Fortunately for us, after 8.5 years of battle, this particular housing project has been declared illegal. But by the time they were declared illegal, look at how they have filled up the wetland and the size of the trees. So it was an 8.5 years of legal battle. We have managed to stop them. This is another one that's coming up. There are about 87 of them. And in this particular area, this particular guy has grabbed the lands of the farmers. And according to the government report, of the 230 acres that he has filled up, he owns only about 40 acres. The rest belong to the farmers of this country. So it's very clear as to what environmental justice means to the farmers who have lost their lands to this very powerful land developer or land grabber. This slide was shown by my previous speaker. This building, when we first filed the case, the BGMEA that claims itself to be the largest export earner of the country went before the court and said they haven't constructed the building on any wetland. Thanks to the government, because it cleaned up the surrounding area, and then only the building started reflecting on the water. If it is not water, if it is glass, I can't argue, but this is how it looks today. When I show this slide to other audience, I used to put a note of exclamation. I don't do it anymore. It's a note of interrogation. The reason is that note of exclamation, I would always ask myself, would this building be ever directed to be pulled down? Would the High Court come forward and say that this is an illegal building, not because only it's on the wetland, but because it has no approved building plan? Second, the land on which they have constructed the building was not the land that was given to them. It is the land adjacent, but they have constructed it there. So I went to the High Court division, and the High Court division last year gave the full judgment saying that the building is illegal and it has to be pulled down. But the tragedy lies in the fact that one Prime Minister of Bangladesh laid down the foundation stone of this building. The other Prime Minister of Bangladesh inaugurated the building. Then came the High Court, and the High Court said that it's actually illegal. Many more to go when you can clap. So the High Court came forward and said that it's illegal. Then the Prime Minister recently said that it's an eyesore. But who is going to pull down the building still remains a question. So whether they'll enjoy the culture of impunity or not is something I would like to see in future. This is what the Forest Department has done. I was reading a report that the government has submitted to the Rio Plus 20 process, and there the government has claimed that the Forest Department of Bangladesh has very successfully managed the forest. And in the last 20 years, the forest coverage has come down from 16% to 6%. Maybe that is how one defines success, I don't know. This is what is happening when we talk about rule of law and other things. Let's think about environmental justice. It is the same thing. If you see Bangladesh going to the UNFCCC process and telling the Western countries to make a compromise with their lifestyle and to reduce less carbon, then the leaders of the Western countries come forward and say, but we can't compromise with our lifestyle. The same thing is happening here in Bangladesh too. When I tell the government that shut down the Hazaribagh tannery, the government says, well, 10,000 people at least are dependent on that tannery. But in the process, we are losing the whole Buriganga River, and there has been no cost-benefit analysis, no impartial cost-benefit analysis to tell us whether it's much better to have the Buriganga or the tannery that's polluting all the time. Here, it is the standard that the Western governments have taken, which I call a double standard. They are keeping their beaches protected. They're sending all their toxic laden ships on our beaches because we are poor. We can afford to exploit people in the name of employment, and you have seen the age of the people working there. They are between 14 to 18. So 14 to 18 malnourished youngsters traveling all the way from the northern side of Bangladesh to the southern side to break one ship manually in 2 months. If this is what you call employment, I would strongly disagree, and I would say it is actually exploitation in the name of employment. This is another problem. If sea level rises by 1 meter, the way I draw the map of Bangladesh, my children will not be able to draw it the same way. They'll have to draw it differently. And environmental justice to the people living in the coastal areas of Bangladesh mean rehabilitation and resettlement. They'll be losing their homestead, their ancestral land, without any fault of their own. This is how the coastal areas of Bangladesh look like. The government, to satisfy the Western consumers, decided to cover 17% of the agricultural land with saline water and do shrimp cultivation there. In the process, the greenery got lost. And we are now exporting shrimp that many Western people are having, but our people in those areas are not getting drinking water. Some of our achievements, I mean, it's not all very gloomy. We fought back. We fought back because the law is there. We fought back because we know that morally we are right and something should be done about it. So we started using law as a tool. And although people are scared of the lawyers and the judiciaries, common people, when they come to us, they're not scared of us. So the legal battle or the fight of promoting environmental battle has actually managed to minimize, to some extent, the gap between a very vital public agency like the judiciary and the common people. They now have managed access before the judiciary to redress their environmental grievances through a mechanism called the public interest litigation or class action suit. So the mega housing project where you see those standing trees have been declared illegal. The court has said that the area has to be restored back to the original position, and those who have paid money, they will be compensated with twice the amount. This is a landmark victory. However, it took us 8.5 years, and the party that has lost has filed review. So we don't know how long that's going to take. Tanneries have been directed to be relocated time and again, but it is not the tannery owners who plead time for extension of the court order. It is the government who appears on behalf of the tannery owners and pleads time. So you see the regulator has stepped into the shoes of the business people, and the identity of the regulator has actually merged with the identity of the business people. BGMEA building has been declared illegal. This was the first application we made under the Right to Information Act in Bangladesh, the first ever application. Shipbreakings have been directed to be regulated. They have been directed to be moved from the beach to the dry dock. They said no ship that would come to Bangladesh would come without being pre-cleaned outside the territory of Bangladesh. But all these directions have been regardlessly flouted by the very limited manpower that the government has. Imagine if the government had more manpower without the right set of motivation, what would have happened to us? Saline water shrimp, the court has said that EIA, environmental impact assessment, has to be made mandatory. No shrimp farming on agricultural land. This has empowered the people so much that they have now resisted and have managed a large area from, have managed to free a large area from salinity intrusion. However, what are the factors that are impeding realization or promotion of environmental justice? One is clear lack of political commitment. The second is, I won't say that much capacity. If they want to screw up things, then they can screw up things with lack of capacity. But if they want to really, if they're required to deliver, there they can't deliver because they're few in number. Thank God that they're few in number. But there is not only lack of capacity, there is lack of commitment as well. the sufferers of environmental anarchies are usually the poor people. They won't dare file case against the rich industrialists. And there is no state mechanism in place that would actually come forward to aid the poor people. The culture of impunity is there. I have been trying to get information about 87 other defiant housing companies. The law says I'll get the information in 20 days. 9 months have passed. I haven't got the information yet because they have seen what I do with the information, so they don't trust me with the information anymore. And then there is absence of bylaw, but these are very loaded things. I won't be giving you any more trouble before lunch. The dilemma continues. The government has only carrot for the polluters. There is no stick. The government has decided to double the cost of tannery relocation. The government has provided the tannery owners with plots. The government has constructed the central effluent treatment plant for them. The government does it with our money, not with government's own money. And now the government has agreed to pay them compensation because they have so kindly agreed to move from Hazaribagh to Savar. So this is the last slide that I had to show. While we have empowered the community, and I would claim that we have managed to bridge the gap between the judiciary and the general people to a great extent, particularly when environmental violations are pleaded, when community come to us with their environmental grievances. This is a minister who comes from Chittagong. So, and shipbreaking also takes place in Chittagong. When he went to Chittagong, the shipbreakers wanted a solution about the shipbreaking industry. And he said, I would have solved the problem for you long back. But a bad genie scrolls on the veranda of the High Court. And it is because of this bad genie that I haven't been able to solve it. So although we have managed to start the implementation process of the law, the judiciary has been extremely helpful. Some government offices, some individuals have been helpful. Community is totally with us. General people's support we have, but not in a very organized manner. What we still lack is political commitment. And we all have to work together to ensure that our leaders feel the pressure, our leaders start listening to our concerns and voices and act accordingly. Thank you very much. Was that?